Welcome and welcome back again, listeners, to the podcast, which can be found, I know, now in many different forms, and to our viewers on YouTube and elsewhere. This is a podcast called What Just Happened? Surviving the Family Court. And I thank you for tuning in again, however it is you found us. This is episode 5. Can't believe we've done 5 already. Episode 5, entitled Secrets, Values, and Lessons, Part 2. I do hope and demand that you listen to episode 4 first. If you're just jumping on now, this is a bad time for you. I'd like you to pause it and go back to episode 4. Episode 4 was part 1 of this discussion, and I think you might be a little left at bay if you don't listen to episode 4 first and then come back and join us. We are produced as ever by Raskin Productions. Thank you for the video for Pixels Digital Productions, and we are produced in conjunction with Rhode Island Free Radio. Brief note on who we are and what we're trying to do. If you are jumping aboard for the first time, this podcast is meant for those who are planning to jump into the deep end of the family court, or even worse, may find themselves drowning in that deep end right now as we speak, and would like a little guidance, a little behind the scenes curtain peeking to see how the family court works and how it can work for you. As we like to say here, and I did not create this, an associate justice of the family court here in the great state of Rhode Island created this. The family court is like a toxic swamp, and we hope in our humble way to try, one podcast at a time, to bridge that swamp so that you can get over it and get through it as quickly as you can with as much dignity as you can. Maybe even come out the other end with a bounce in your step, because traditionally the family court is where families enter and people leave. And I don't think it has to be that way. Those who are graciously giving up their time to produce this with me don't think it has to be that way. Instead of being a part of a whole, you may feel, if you are going through a divorce or an ugly child custody battle, that you now have to be everything for your parent. You have to be their mother and their father, as well as their babysitter, that you have to do twice the laundry now and cook twice as much and nurture twice as much and make twice as much money. And of course, that is simply not practical. There are limitations on us as parents and as people, no matter how well-intentioned we are. So we're going to try to get you through the family court as best we know how, and so you can come into the family court and leave as a person. And again, in episode 4, we delved into what I rather glibly called was the secret of the family court, that being that no one wins, per se, in the family court. And I went into what I've experienced and why that is, and why attorneys might not tell you that before you take out your checkbook. And it was necessary, but it was a little melancholy. So today in episode 5, part 2 of Secrets, Values, and Lessons, we're going to try to address that. Now, given that context, given that you're in family court, or you have to go to family court, and that no one wins, how do you get through that? And how do you get through it as a better parent if you have children, and how you get through it as a better person if you don't? And from everything I've seen in the years I've been doing this here in Rhode Island, is that people who come out of the family court with dignity, they do 3 things. Number 1, they get it over quickly. There is no dignity in protracting and stalling and having a contested trial and airing the dirty laundry of your family, and every family has it, in a court to try issues to a stranger in a robe and have him or her decide who gets what asset, who pays what debt, who spends what time with the child. When you're making decisions about your assets, your debts, and your children, you should be the one making those decisions, if need be, with the help of counsel. But the ones who come out with dignity have the foresight and the knowledge to get it done quickly. At the end of episode 4, I called it like going to the DMV. If you have to go to the DMV, you certainly don't want to go and spend the whole day and afternoon there and sleep there and spend a week there just for the fun of it. You want to get in and get out and move on. And that is exactly how you should view your time in the family court. Number 2, People who come out of family court with dignity intact, number one, they get their matter over quickly. Number two, these people know what to value. Listen carefully. It doesn't mean that they know what they value. These people know what to value. And what do I mean by that? If you are going through a divorce in the family court, and up until now in your adult life, you have valued yourself insofar as you are one half of a marital unit. If you view yourself in all of your self-respect as being a wife or a husband or a spouse, then you are going to fail because your perspective is incorrect. If your marriage is ending and you view yourself and your self-value solely in the guise of being a wife or a spouse, then of course you're going to fail. If you place your value in being the parent to your child or to your children, then you are going to fail. You are not the parent, you are a parent. And the people who succeed and who leave family court better and stronger are those who place an emphasis and a value on being a parent, one of two, or one of four, if both parents meet significant others, a symbiote, one critical component of the child's health, safety, and well-being. People who get their family court matter done quickly. And by the way, if you have an attorney who tries your family court matter in the hallway instead of a courtroom, you have found the right attorney. They get it over quickly, they place value, they know what to value. And number three, which we'll get to shortly, they refuse to view the end of their relationship, be it a divorce or a relationship with a significant other, which led to a child, as a failure. Before going on to the failure, I want to discuss briefly what I mean by being a parent instead of the parent. Children, wonderful as they are, they view the world simply. They see it in black and white. They've learned right and wrong. And that's how they apply their knowledge to the world around them, without nuance. But life, of course, is messy. It's not necessarily black and white. It's shades of gray, and it's not necessarily the strongest or the smartest or the luckiest who are the successful in life. The most successful people I know in life are adaptable. They adapt to their circumstances, and they hit the ground running, and I don't think enough is made of this. And you can use the end of your relationship with the other parent of your child or the end of your marriage or what have you as an opportunity. If you handle it correctly, you can teach your children by action this lesson, that life is messy and these things happen, but if you hold your head high and you conduct yourself with composure and you keep your dignity, that you will be able to meet the inevitability of change, and you will exercise grace in transition, and you will come out better on the other side. So again, number one, they get it over quickly. Number two, they know what to value and what not to value. Number three, the people who come out of family court the best. Number three, they refuse to view the end of their relationship as a failure. I'll tell you this, an end is not a failure. Separation, splitting up, divorce, these are not failures. You have not failed, and you are not entirely at fault. Because the flaw isn't with you or with your ex. The flaw is in the institution. You meet and fall in love and you commit, whether you marry or not. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you will change together in lockstep. You and your loved one, no matter how close, likely have very different friends, very different careers. You have different experiences. And from this, given enough time that you're together, naturally you'll both change incrementally to adapt to these different experiences that you've each had. And given even more time, you and your beloved may even become very different people to one another, and very different people than you both were when you fell in love, and when you committed, or when you married. And there's no shame in this. There is no failure in coming to understand that you have diverged. An end, in and of itself, is not a failure. Your only chance to fail is in how you deal with it. Once you free yourself from seeing the ghost of failure and the end of your relationship, You release yourself from the shackles of shame that come with that perspective, from internalizing blame at having come to the end of this road, and, most importantly, you stop searching for blame in the other parent, in your ex-spouse. If you stop searching for blame in the other parent, you won't find it. You can begin to see the ex as who they are, as who they've become, instead of who you wanted them to be or to become. And you will start to give them the benefit of the doubt. The benefit of the doubt to the other parent or the ex-spouse is everything in family court. And then, and only then, you'll be able to see your ex as a co-parent instead of continuing to see them as a responsible party that has contributed to the stigma of this failure moving forward. The end of a relationship means, of course, becoming more for your child, metamorphizing, trying to become the parent you wished your ex would have become, gives you power and self-reliance over how your child is raised. And it does not mean that you have to wait around and continue to wish that your ex-spouse or the other parent of your child or children will finally become your idea for them. Life is messy, and by understanding and internalizing that, you can adapt to your new life. You can not only make the most of the bad situation, but you can transform and reclaim yourself for your family. And it can become a teachable moment if you treat it correctly. Adopting a kind of humanist view of the family court depends entirely on how we view ourselves and how we value ourselves. And there's no better time for internalizing that thought than when you're going through the family court. I want to give you a brief story of a wonderful woman I met very recently, in fact. And I did speak to her in advance of this before I said I would talk about her like this. But her name is Jane McAuliffe, and she is a certified divorce financial advisor. And what Jane had done was, she's been in finance since I want to say 97 or 98. But when it came to the point where she was getting divorced from her husband, she used it as a stepping stone, her divorce, instead of a rock tied around her neck, drowning her. And she pivoted beautifully by using her divorce and what she learned about the divorce process as a basis for a small business. And what Jane does now is she actually helps other divorcees, recent divorcees, in planning financially, as whether it's small business or tax consequence or investing or retirement, or generally helping these people who have gone through what she has recently gone through and reassessing their assets and their futures and making sure that they have the kind of future that is right for them and is right for their children. And I don't want to speak for Jane, but I think if you would have asked her, despite her career in finance, I don't know if she would have become quite the divorce expert or the analyst or the resource that she has become for all of these people had she not gone through her divorce. And so with Jane's blessing, I like to discuss her as an example of all the theory we're talking about here, as using an obstacle as an opportunity in order to move forward gracefully and over the bridge of the toxic swamp, and to make the most of your life. So again, if you want to get in and out of the family court and make it work for you, you have to get it done quickly. You have to know what to value and how to value yourself. And you have to refuse to view the end of your relationship as a failure. This is not exhaustive, of course. There's plenty else to do, and other people address this in different ways, but this is what I have seen from the successful people who have come through family court just a bit better than they went in. As always, we love your feedback in a macro sense for the podcast to describe maybe what we should do that we're not, or how to do what we are do differently, or what you think about today's specific discussion or the past episodes. My name is Timothy Sweet. My webpage, TimothyMSweetLaw.com. Email timothymsweet@gmail.com and phone number 401-595-1665. Thank you so much for listening or watching or both, and I will see you next week when we discuss the sticky topic of control and the illusion of control through this very difficult process. Thank you so much.